Many of you woke up on Sunday morning, and if you are New York Times subscribers, you were able to read this. A leaked video inflames the racial turmoil at ESPN with all of the different individuals involved in this story, in particular Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor. So if you don't know the background on this story, let me quickly give you the background on this story, and then I'm going to unpack the story, explain what I think's going on. A year ago, roughly, Rachel Nichols was in her hotel room inside the bubble at the NBA, and she was told that she was no longer going to be hosting the NBA Finals telecast and that she was going to be replaced by Maria Taylor. Unbeknownst to Rachel Nichols, the camera that was inside of her hotel room was still on, and it was recording as she had a phone conversation with a man named Adam Mendelsohn, I believe is his name, if I'm not screwing this up. And Adam Mendelsohn is, of course, one of the supposed woke advisors for LeBron James and among others. So I'll get to that in a moment. But first, the revelation here during a 20-minute call is that Rachel Nichols was upset that she was being replaced off the NBA Finals. And she said the reason why it was happening was because ESPN had a bad record on diversity, and during Black Lives Matter, that Rachel Nichols felt she was being replaced by Maria Taylor, not because of talent, but because of race. And here's a direct quote from Rachel Nichols. "I wish Maria Taylor all the success in the world. She covers football. She covers basketball. If you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy long-time record on diversity," which, by the way, I know personally from the female side of it, like, go for it. Just find it somewhere else. You are not going to find it from me or taking my thing away. You are not going to find it, meaning diversity, from me or taking my thing away. This is Rachel Nichols at her honest truth. She is in favor of diversity and inclusion so long as the diversity and inclusion does not impact her ability to earn a living. This is the modern day version of not in my backyard, when people are all in favor of a variety of different political statements as long as it doesn't end up with their kids having to go to schools that are not as good as they might otherwise would be, as long as there's no suddenly apartments moving in across the street from their high-end home. Not in my backyardism, NIMBYism from Rachel Nichols. She continued, "I just want them to go somewhere else. Fine," this is Rachel Nichols, a quote. "It's in my contract, by the way. This job is in my contract in writing." She is saying that she wants for people out there to go somewhere else. She continued, "Those same people who are like," Nicholson said that the culture at ESPN's headquarters had been a challenge for her. She said, this is Rachel Nichols, "Those same people who are like generally white conservative male Trump voters is part of the reason I've had a hard time at ESPN. I've basically finally just outworked everyone for so long they had to recognize it. I don't want to then be a victim of them trying to play catch up for the same damage that affected me in the first place. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to just be nice." So Rachel Nichols, woke all-star, Rachel Nichols, Joe Biden voter, Rachel Nichols so crushed when Hillary Clinton lost. Rachel Nichols is all about diversity and inclusion, y'all, unless the diversity and inclusion somehow impacts her own job. Then, y'all, we got to talk about this diversity and inclusion business. It doesn't make as much sense to her. And this has always been my argument. If you believe that diversity and inclusion truly is an issue, and you're a white person, leave and give your job to a black person. That's literally putting your money where your mouth is, right? Give up something in exchange for somebody else based on their race. Well, Rachel Nichols, not surprisingly, not happy about the fallout. Now, on top of this, she was having a conversation with Adam Mendelsohn, who the New York Times described as the longtime advisor of Lakers superstar LeBron James and Rich Paul. And this is incredibly incestuous, right? So Rachel Nichols is begging for an interview with one of these guys while talking with Adam Mendelsohn, which shows you how incestuous the NBA is. You want to know how LeBron James never got quizzed by anybody at ESPN about the fake racist graffiti story that he made up? You want to know how LeBron James is able to say the First Amendment has issues? You want to know how LeBron James is able to get away with all of the flagrant hypocrisies of his life when it comes to China and Hong Kong and all of that? You want to know how all of these stories occur? It's because Rachel Nichols, if she actually speaks truth to LeBron James's power, she won't get an interview. I thought it was interesting, however, that Mendelsohn said, I don't know, I'm exhausted. Between Me Too and Black Lives Matter, I got nothing left. Both of them then laughed. This is kind of funny too, because Mendelsohn, who set up a voting rights initiative for LeBron James, when it really gets down to it, he thinks Me Too and Black Lives Matter is a joke. Again, this is how tons of woke people, white, black, Asian, and Hispanic, really speak. But he said the quiet part out loud. He didn't know that he was actually getting recorded here. Now, what happens at ESPN? Well, Maria Taylor, first of all, Rachel Nichols reaches out to Maria Taylor to apologize through text messages and, quote, Maria has chosen not to respond to these offers, which is completely fair and a decision I respect. A full year and you can't work or talk with a coworker. In fact, Maria Taylor's demand was, she said, Nichols can't appear on her television show, NBA Countdown. And ESPN said, well, Rachel Nichols is going to appear, but instead they are taping all of Rachel Nichols' hit instead of doing them live, and they don't interact on the show. Now, Maria Taylor leaked this, which we're going to get to in a moment, but amazingly, while Maria Taylor declined comment, 6 different of her colleagues were happy to talk, and they managed to get an email that is very favorable towards Maria Taylor, even if it's a bit nonsensical. Here's what Maria Taylor said in an email. I will not call myself a victim, but I certainly have felt victimized. Opening sentence. I will not call myself a victim, but I certainly have felt victimized. How can you be anything other than a victim if you immediately say, but I certainly have felt victimized? By the way, this is what woke culture leads to, an argument over who the true victim is. I do not feel as though my complaints have been taken seriously, she wrote in an email to ESPN executives, including Jimmy Pitaro, a.k.a. the white guy in charge of ESPN, whose July 4th was ruined over this story. In fact, the first time I have heard from HR after 2 incidents of racial insensitivity was to ask if I leaked Rachel's tape to the media. I would never do that. Simply being a front-facing black woman at this company has taken its toll physically and mentally. Maria Taylor's contract is up in the next couple of weeks. If you want to know how a story like this actually ends up occurring, it is because Maria Taylor decided to have her people leak this story. She's the only one who benefits. She's the only one not quoted directly in the story. She is trying to extort ESPN into paying her a massive salary increase, which she does not otherwise deserve. Maybe Rachel Nichols also got a salary increase, so she wouldn't have filed a lawsuit. Obviously, her leaked phone call getting out from an ESPN camera is also an issue for ESPN in a big way. But to me, I think this is interesting. Also, of course, the New York Times says Taylor, who had recently gained widespread acclaim for her on-air comments about the murder of George Floyd by a police officer. Come on, she might as well be writing that herself. Her PR agents might as well be writing that herself.